If all bees disappeared tomorrow, we'd face an immediate agricultural crisis. Bees pollinate approximately 35% of the world's food crops, including fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Without bees, these crops would fail to reproduce, leading to significant food shortages. Crops like almonds, apples, blueberries, and cucumbers would be particularly affected, with production dropping by 90% or more. This would create immediate supply chain disruptions and price spikes for these foods worldwide. The immediate consequences of bee extinction would fundamentally disrupt our global food system. Beyond the immediate crop failures, our food diversity would dramatically decrease if bees went extinct. We would lose approximately 1/3 of our global food variety. While staple grains like wheat, rice, and corn are primarily wind-pollinated and would survive, many fruits, vegetables, and nuts that rely on bee pollination would become scarce. Supermarket-produced sections would shrink dramatically, with many familiar foods becoming luxury items or disappearing entirely. This would lead to less nutritious diets globally as fruits and vegetables became scarce. Many common foods we take for granted would become expensive luxury items, placing significant strain on global nutrition and food security. The collapse of food diversity represents one of the most direct and devastating consequences of bee extinction on human society. The economic devastation from bee extinction would be staggering. Bees contribute between $235 and $577 billion annually to global crop production through pollination. Their disappearance would collapse entire agricultural sectors, with millions of farmers losing their livelihoods. The ripple effects would impact food processing, transportation, and retail industries. Unemployment would spike in agricultural regions as farms and related businesses fail. Food insecurity would increase dramatically, particularly in developing nations that rely heavily on pollinator-dependent crops. The economic loss from bee extinction would devastate global agriculture, disrupt supply chains, and increase food insecurity for billions of people worldwide. Beyond agriculture, approximately 90% of wildflowering plants depend on animal pollinators, with bees being the most important group. Without bees, these plant species would fail to reproduce effectively, leading to cascading ecosystem failures. Forests, meadows, and other natural habitats would gradually transform as flowering plants declined. They would be replaced by wind-pollinated species like grasses and conifers. This would fundamentally alter landscapes worldwide within just a few generations. As bees face extinction, humans would need to adapt quickly with alternative pollination methods. Hand pollination, already practiced in some parts of China where bee populations have declined, would become common globally. This process is extremely labor-intensive and expensive, costing thousands of dollars per acre compared to practically free bee pollination. Robotic pollinators and drone technology would be rapidly developed to help fill the pollination gap. However, even with advanced technology, these solutions couldn't match the efficiency and scale of billions of natural pollinators. Alternative growing methods like vertical farming and hydroponics would expand rapidly. These controlled environments can grow certain crops without pollinators, but they couldn't fully replace traditional agriculture dependent on natural pollination. When we compare all adaptation methods to natural bee pollination, we see significant limitations in efficiency, cost, and scalability. Hand pollination is extremely labor-intensive. Robotic solutions lack efficiency, and alternative farming methods have limited application. The reality is that no human adaptation can fully replace the remarkable efficiency and global scale of natural pollinators. These human adaptation efforts highlight just how valuable and irreplaceable bees are to our ecosystems and food systems. The medicinal impact of bee extinction would be far-reaching, affecting many aspects of human health. Many medicinal plants require bee pollination to reproduce. These include well-known herbs like echinacea, which supports immune function, and foxglove, which provides compounds for heart medications. Bee products themselves have significant medicinal properties. Honey has natural antibacterial qualities and is used for wound healing. Propolis contains powerful antimicrobial compounds, while bee venom is being researched for treating conditions like arthritis and multiple sclerosis. The loss of bees would eliminate not only known medicinal compounds, but also countless undiscovered ones. Approximately 25% of all medicines contain compounds derived from flowering plants, many of which depend on bee pollination for survival. Without bees, our ability to develop new medicines would be severely compromised, affecting countless future generations.
Bees hold significant cultural importance across human societies throughout history. Bees appear prominently in religious texts worldwide. They are mentioned in the Quran as recipients of divine inspiration. In Christianity, bees symbolize hard work and community. Hindu texts associate them with love and sweetness, while ancient Egyptian priests were called beekeepers of the gods. Folklore and mythology worldwide feature bees prominently. Greek mythology suggests bees were created from the tears of the sun god Ra. Celtic legends connect bees to wisdom and poetry. Slavic tales portray bees as messengers to the gods, while Mayan mythology associates them with universal order. Bees have inspired artistic and literary works for millennia. Ancient cave paintings dating back thousands of years depict honey hunting. Napoleon adopted the bee as a royal symbol in his empire. Shakespeare frequently referenced bees and honey in his writings, and modern literature continues to use bees to symbolize societal structures. Indigenous cultures worldwide hold unique ecological knowledge about bees. The Kayapo people of the Amazon recognize over 56 different bee species. Aboriginal Australians have songlines about bee navigation patterns. The Ogiek tribe of Kenya maintains forest honey-gathering traditions stretching back generations, and the Yucatec Maya practice sacred stingless bee husbandry. The human-bee relationship stretches back to prehistoric times. Cave art from 15,000 BCE depicts honey hunting. Ancient Egyptian beekeeping flourished by 2400 BCE. The first written texts about bees appeared around 800 BCE. Romans further developed bee domestication. During the Middle Ages, bee folklore flourished. Today, these cultural connections spanning millennia are endangered. The extinction of bees would sever ancient cultural connections. We would lose wisdom and ecological knowledge systems developed over thousands of years. Traditional practices and ceremonies centered around bees would disappear. Artistic and literary inspiration would diminish. Spiritual connections to nature and creation would weaken, and cultural identities tied to human-bee relationships would be profoundly altered.
The extinction of bees would serve as a critical environmental warning sign. Bees function as sensitive environmental indicators, responding quickly to ecosystem stressors. They are highly susceptible to multiple environmental threats: pesticides, habitat loss, climate change, and disease. The disappearance of bees would signal that these environmental problems had reached catastrophic levels. This would likely mean other pollinators and insect species were also in decline or extinct. Such a collapse would represent a broader ecological breakdown, threatening human survival beyond just food production issues. In essence, if bees go extinct, it will be a clear signal that our environment has deteriorated beyond a critical threshold. Fortunately, we can prevent the extinction of bees. Bee extinction is not inevitable. There are many actions we can take to save these vital pollinators. Current bee conservation efforts include reducing pesticide use, creating bee-friendly habitats, supporting sustainable agriculture, and protecting wild areas. Individual actions like planting native flowers, avoiding pesticides in gardens, supporting local beekeepers, and creating bee watering stations can make a significant difference. While bee populations are declining, their complete disappearance is preventable if we act decisively to address the threats they face, ensuring both their survival and our own. Take action today for a world with bees tomorrow.